Welcome to season 22 of the Prep Pigskin Report. My name is Rudy. I'll be your host this evening. However, please give a warm welcome to my co-host, Mr. Bert Grossman. Hey, Bert.
How are you today? I just love that open where you turn back with the,
I know,
like
it's very
Beretta
sexy.
thing.
It's very sexy.
Love that.
All I need is the parrot. Hey, Bert, before we get to our featured conversation, we have Toady Mandridge waiting on the line for us. But there's a little bit of news as it relates to the county and COVID-19. SDSU has been cleared for 11-on-11 workouts. But the high school kids, well, they're not there yet. They can't even do the 7-on-7 or the AAU. What's going on?
I don't know. And I think this is a frustrating part for a lot of coaches, kids, and parents is every time they meet a matrix, it seems to move all the time and applies to one person, might not apply to the other organization. But I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know if San Diego State's in a bubble. That would be the only thing that would be allowed, and you can't do that in high school. But this is the frustrating part.
I don't think, looking at the pictures at San Diego State,
That's not a bubble,
I don't see. It's a pretty big bubble if there is one. All right, well, let's get to our first conversation of the night with some hot air in the cool zone presented by Mossy Heating and Air and Solar. Our guest tonight, former NFL offensive tackle Toady Mandridge. Tony, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
I am well, sir. You will not remember this, but way back when you were hitting Green Bay, I was a cub reporter for WFRV working for Larry McCarron. And, sir, you could not have been kinder to me coming up when you didn't have to be. And I know you were getting hassled by the media left and right, and I'll always remember your kindnesses.
Well, I appreciate that story, and I appreciate you reminding me. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it, because you could not have hit the NFL with more fanfare when you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated. We have both covers. Can you talk about, was that an intentional thing? Did you want to have that kind of media attention, or were you hoping to fly a little more under the radar?
Well, flying under the radar, I don't think was in my vocabulary. I felt being an offensive lineman, we get the least amount of publicity. Or the least amount of recognition, or whatever the case may be. We get called when we play bad, or as an offensive line, or if we get a holding call. And as far as media goes, to do stories on offensive linemen, they're talking about skill positions. They're talking about running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, people like that. Great defensive linemen like Mr. Grossman, people like that. But so I tried to create as much hype as I could, because you only get drafted once, and it's a business, and it's a sport, but it's a business, and you try to make as much of an impact as possible, and get in there, do your job, earn your money, and it's a short-lived career.
I don't think some people understand how big a deal it was. It was you and Deion Sanders got all the pub, and the rest of us got nothing. But it was so big. There was talk. I remember there was talk about you fighting Mike Tyson, and you were. And at the time, I didn't know you were at the Big Ten. So I was praying you didn't go to any All-Star games, because I'm like, I'm never going to go in the first round if I got to do this. I kept watching that Iowa guy, but then I finally saw you. He pulls up to the combine in a limo. He just goes and does his stuff and then leaves. But I just looked at him and I was like, oh my God, I can't play in the NFL.
Well, take us back to '89. The Packers take you second overall, and there were such high expectations, and it didn't work out. At least in Green Bay, it didn't work out. Your thoughts about if you could do it over again?
If I could, hindsight's great, but I wouldn't change a thing based on the fact that all that suffering and all that pain I caused myself made me change. It forced me to change. It was either change or die. And the person I am today, I'm comfortable with. I still have a lot of work to do to become a better person, a better human being. But I think that's just a lifelong journey thing. But it was a lot of. It was a lot of hype, and a lot of the hype was, self-created. And once SI put it on the cover, and then once SI labeled what they labeled, they were the ones that said possibly the greatest offensive lineman ever in college football or whatever. I didn't say that. They said it, and as soon as they said it, and then the cover, I guess, for some reason, the photographer is a great photographer. But for some reason, that cover was like one of the top 3 covers of the 80s that sold in the 80s. Right. I think it was more because it was interesting and different. It was just different than your typical SI cover. And so, from there on, it just became a snowball turning into an avalanche.
Hey, Tony, this is a high school football show, and talk about the downside of steroids, because we get a lot of kids that, will think about that, and I don't think they realize that it's a gateway to some other things emotionally that you have to cope with once you start taking them.
Oh, man, what an understatement. I mean, you're right on with that, but you talk about all the side effects that come with it. It is, I mean, the list can go on and on, psychologically, emotionally. For the most part, people know that steroids, when they think steroids, they think muscle and bigger, faster, stronger. Do they make you a better athlete? I don't know. They make you a stronger athlete and a faster athlete. Does it make you a better athlete? I don't know. But, in regards to a high school audience, and really in regards to any audience, the effects, the side effects of steroids way outweigh, especially the psychological ones, way outweigh the benefits of it. The stuff that, as big as I was on that cover, and as big as I was kind of made in the media, larger than life kind of thing, inside I was very fragile. There was like that foundation that you saw, the foundation of a young man with all, this muscle and the 6'6" and all this other BS. It was really, you would never think that person, is fragile inside, and a lot of that with coming from side effects, not just from steroids, but just other things that you set yourself up with. But emotionally, it'll affect you. Psychologically, steroids, in my opinion, are 5 to 10-fold stronger than they are physically. So, especially the withdrawal from them. Like, I never really had a physical withdrawal. I would lose 15%, 20% of my strength if I got off steroids. So, if you're benching like 600 plus, and now you're down to mid 550s or between 500 and 550, you're still pretty strong. You can
whoa, 600. What language is this?
Hey, Tony, we have to call it a conversation. We're up against the buzzer here. But the next time we chat, and I hope we get to do this again, because I want to talk about, you did get your career back on track with the Colts, and you finish out on your terms, which I think is a big part of the story. And then we want to talk about your career as a photographer, but we're going to have to do that Part two of this conversation. Please come back.
It's been a pleasure. I'm grateful for you guys having me on.
All right, Toady Mandridge, everybody.
Thank you, Tony.
Very much. Hey, last Saturday, 2016 Silver Pigskin finalist Braxton Burmeister, the Virginia Tech Hokies, along with Brandon at quarterback, took on Don Chapman and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Mm-hmm. Look at that magic moment right there, captured by
I love that.
Top Dog. Two PPR stars meeting at the goal line. How cool is that? Burmeister at the goal line there. North Carolina down the Hokies by a 56-45 final. And even without football, our PPR crew is hard at work finding things noteworthy in the San Diego community, including, let's hear from everyone in the roundtable segment we call Bacon Bits. You say Bacon Bits.
I was waiting to talk about Don Chapman, so I was
All right, this is brought to you by the Holland RV Center. Adventure starts right here, leading the way, of course, Brandon Stone.
Alex Smith making his big comeback with the Washington football team last week, but he is not the only San Diego football alumni to make it with the Washington football team. They just signed Casey Toolhill, former 7th-round pick of the Philadelphia Eagles and former linebacker and student-athlete spotlight man at Cathedral. What bacon bit would you like to top on, Madhouse?
Brandon, do you remember the name Ben Ratzlaff, the star wide receiver who graduated from Westview High School in 2016? Well, the former Wolverine is doing big things in the FCS. Now, the Huskies decided to play this 2020 fall season, and wouldn't you know it, Mr. Ratzlaff is ranked as the number 3 wide receiver in the FCS. Houston Baptist season is over after 4 games, and Ben played in all 4 games, caught 29 passes for 399 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now let's toss it over to Nick to see what he has for us.
Thank you, Madison. Well, over 40 players are currently on NFL rosters or on practice squads in the NFL. Most notably in the stable, Royce Freeman. He won the Silver Pigskin Award in 2013. Also, we have Iron Hog Award winners as well, getting paid playing on Sundays, doing their thing on the offensive line in the NFL. Bo, what do you have for us?
In the South Bay, there was a shuffle in leagues, as well as a change at the helm for a handful of programs. Curtis Mays heads to Mar Vista. Brian Wagner left Sweetwater to coach at his alma mater Hilltop. 34-year-old Irvin Hernandez quickly climbed the ranks at Sweetwater. Tyler Arciaga is back at Bonita. And Jason Texler, former San Marcos head coach, fills in at Eastlake. Now to Nick Polino.
Thanks, Bo. Earlier this week, 2016 Silver Pigskin finalist Jordan Jinmark-Heath making it known that he will be transferring from the University of Notre Dame to UCLA. The former Don now joins a Bruin roster loaded with San Diego talent, such as 2018 Silver Pigskin winner Jamon McClendon, as well as Kyle Phillips, Martell Irby, Shamar Martin, Stephen Mason, Carson Drake, and Grant Norberg. Now over to Allison Edmonds.
Thank you, Nick. Well, you've heard the saying, you can't bend steel, and that is especially true now that they have these brand new bleachers. Since Steel Canyon opened, they have not had visitor bleachers, but they have been fundraising to get some new ones for the home side, and it looks like the time has come just in time for the 2021 season.
And Bert, you have a bacon bit?
I do. Alex Smith returning after that horrific injury. I mean, it was amazing. I think it didn't matter about the stats where he was back on the field. I don't think anybody thought it would happen. Unfortunately, Dak got a horrific injury the same day, and it kind of overshadowed his return, but just a great story.
NFL Comeback Player of the Year, hands down. All right, let's give away some PPR gear. Put your lid on, Bert. Here's tonight's El Cajon Ford Pigskin Trivia question.
Hey everybody, Nick Polino with tonight's Nobody Beats El Cajon Ford Pigskin Trivia question. In the last decade, which team in the Avocado West has won the most league titles? A. Carlsbad, B. Oceanside, C. Mission Hills, D. El Camino, or E. La Costa Canyon? We'll have the answer for you later in the show, along with the name of one lucky winner who will be sent some PPR gear as well as El Cajon Ford. PPR and El Cajon Ford. Nobody treats you better.
All right, coming up on the Pigskin Report, we're digging for silver with attorney King Amanpour. We're going to Torrey Pines, that La Costa Torrey Pines rivalry, and our Pigskin Trivia answer will also be brought to you later on. We're going to raise a glass from our Hollandia Dairy Student Athlete Spotlight and Squat Up, brought to you by Spouts. It's all coming your way. You're watching the Prep Pigskin Report Unplugged. Third quarter, St. Aug's with the ball. Uni's Donnie Sweet recovers the Saints fumble. Brandon Ryan will get the call. Stuffed. The Saints take over. Later in the fourth quarter, Don's quarterback Andrew Bitterlin will be intercepted by Gabriel Gonzalez, 52 yards the other way, and Jerry Ralph's bunch with a Rusty with a 28-3 lead.
Uni is like beating the #1 team in the nation. You know, it's just the greatest feeling.
I love that segment. Brandon Stone putting that together. Welcome back to the PPR Unplugged. Now in our 22nd year, the PPR has seen the best of the best when it comes to rivalries. You just saw an example there in the Holy Bowl.
I love these rivalries. They're my favorite thing.
Yeah, but how about the Battle of the Surfboard? You know who that is?
It's got to be in North County.
Yeah, Torrey Pines and LCC. This is King Amanpour digging for silver with Brandon Stone's help to highlight some of the best matchups between LCC and Torrey Pines. Again, it's brought to you by King Amanpour.
So they call it the Beach Bowl. Two North County powers battling it out for the golden surfboard. This week's Digging for Silver, all about the battle for the golden surfboard between Torrey Pines and La Costa Canyon.
Check out Kevin O'Connell, their quarterback. This is one heck of a pass into the arms of Andrew Macario.
NFL credentials at center stage in 2001. But O'Connell, not the winning quarterback this round. It belongs to Bryce Romney.
Pumped us up, and I know they were pumped up. And every time we just like delivering the show.
2005, another close one. So the Falcons pull out all the tricks.
Tried to pull out a little trickeration, you know, the little hook and ladder, and hopefully it just worked out to perfection. It couldn't have asked for anything more. Thank God it was there.
The Mavericks' fortunes in this game getting better in the next decade. Take 2017. A QB now at TCU takes over.
Then Jake will find Estrella again, this time 17 yards.
And in 2019, it's the LCC defense that seals it.
LCC's Chad Nushi forces a turnover, and just like that, the La Costa Canyon Mavericks come out on top.
Lots of great memories. We'll see what happens the next time the waves come crashing in. Brandon Stone for the Prep Pigskin Report.
Thank you, Brandon. Time to introduce our blue chip athlete of the week, Westview High's Mandela Tobin. Take a listen.
Let's start with the name. I'm going to guess you have a very important namesake, do you not?
My parents named me after the great Nelson Mandela because he was such a great leader. He was basically the MLK of Africa, and they wanted to make me kind of like blessed by him because it's such a great and powerful name, and make sure that I'm also a great and powerful person in the future, but still a kind and humble person as well.
Hey, let's talk about life as a 3-star recruit. What's it like?
It is crazy. Right now, it's slowed down because I posted my top 5, and I recently got the Duke offer, so those are the schools I'm focusing on right now. But beforehand, when everything was starting to pick up, it was definitely a hectic and crazy experience because the whole time I had phone calls from coaches, texts, just constantly, and I definitely saw how much this can change my life, and it's definitely been hectic, but I love every ounce of it.
As you were looking at all the schools that are interested in you, what's the criteria that's most important to you?
Definitely, first and foremost, school. My family and I, we look at their academics, see how they stack up with that. Then secondly, we look at the actual football, of course, because football is definitely a giant important factor. You know, of course, with the scholarship offer, that's the main thing. And then third, we also look at the school environment, the campus, and the outside city or small town it's in to make sure that the place is safe, has a good reputation, and is definitely a place I can see myself living for the next 45 years.
Tell us about your life. Everybody knows about you as a football player. Tell us about you off the football field.
I am huge about photography. I love photography. I've definitely been inclined on it because you can show so much about yourself through the pictures you take. And I took photography as a class last year in my last quarter of junior year, and I got A's in both quarters. And definitely I love the experience. I love going to places, and there was one particular picture that I took when I went to Mount Helix, and I got an A on it. But I mean, Mount Helix is just beautiful in itself, so it makes sense.
When football players of your caliber start to become public, when people start putting stars after your name, and the recruiting heats up, and people realize that you're a D1 player, there's been a tendency, especially in San Diego County, for those kind of caliber athletes to find themselves congregating at other schools that have the better programs. That's not you. You're staying true to your school. Explain that decision.
I just see that I don't really need to go to another school to prove myself because obviously, as it's shown, I've gained a whole lot of offers just staying where I'm at. Even though Westview may not be as known for football, I still strive to be the best, and that's why I've pulled off what I've actually gotten with these 14 Division I offers. It's not about the school, it's about the player. Because if you don't have what it takes, even though you have all the talent in the world, you're not going to succeed.
What would it mean to you to be the first Wolverine to be etched on the side of the prestigious silver pigskin?
That would just be one of the biggest accomplishments, if not the biggest accomplishment I've ever done. To be remembered in this city, that would be the world to me. Because for San Diego, I've grown up in this great city, and I am so thankful to God to be blessed to live here and to be remembered through something that I love so much. That would be a huge honor, and I would want the world. I would want the world for that.
That piece was put together by Nick Polino. Great job.
What an impressive kid, too.
Yeah, impressive kid. All right. We try to extend the goal beyond the goalposts here on the PPR. We try to do our very best to shine a light on everything that's part of the Friday night football experience.
And here's Madison St. Clair and this week's Squad Up, the Sarah Cheer Team, brought to you by Sprouts Farmers Market.
We got the G-O-A!
UNTLD! Without us at the games, I feel like the games would be real dry. It wouldn't be the same type of hype if we were there to boost up the crowd and get everybody on the same page.
Not a lot of people understand what cheer really is until you do it. A lot of people would say that cheer isn't a sport. I just miss how we cheer in front of a crowd. We can feel the pressure against the other team.
And for these Q Dogs, being a part of that Sarah cheer team means more than waving the gold pom-poms and stomping their feet to the beat.
You have to be able to pump up the crowd. You have to be able to love the sport and what you do, but also have that emotional connection, have that support. I feel like that's what Sarah Cheer provides a lot for all of the athletes that join.
The job never stops, whether you're in your uniform or without it. You represent the school. Just you as an individual, you have to set a good example. You have to get not just the crowd at games, but the students at the school during school day engaged for Spirit Week, just anything involved that has to make the Sarah spirit rise.
And when football returns, this Sarah cheer team will be cheering and chanting right alongside.
If we do get a season in January, the hype is going to be on a whole different level. Like, I can see it now. Everybody's going to be in the stands. The whole crowd's going to be, everybody's going to have to try to get the hype back up as if it was like a regular game.
We're going to show that we are meant to be at those games and that we worked hard for it.
We will come back stronger. We will come back with a more positive attitude. This pandemic will not put a pause into what we have put so much work and effort into.
I'm Madison Sinclair for the Prep Pigskin Report.
Thank you, Madison. Time for another commercial break. When we come back, Joe Hines and Hey Joe segment, plus we'll raise a glass to our Hollandia student athlete. Bert, what are you watching?
When?
The Prep Pigskin Report, Unplugged, right after these commercials. Welcome back to the PPR Plugged. He's well rested from his vacation, wherever he was. It's a segment we call Hey Joe, a chat with Commissioner Joe Hines. Hey Joe.
Morning, guys. How are you?
You really put it together today for this show, huh? Look at you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Joe, I want to start off.
You always looking out for me, Bert.
I know you're back in the porta potty, so be short.
I am. Yes.
You probably
always where your heart is, Bert.
We have a graphic from Max Preps that looks a lot like the 2016 electoral map, and it's updated almost weekly now. I think this is last week, and there's a few more added to it. I know when. Is this fair, and what's the difference here?
Joe, what he's referring to is the fact that a lot of the countries playing high school football, and the states that aren't, it looks like the 2016 electoral college map.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've seen that, Paul, and every week there's more states that are coming online again, not just with football, but with all of our sports. So, as of this week and our last commissioners meeting, we're pressing forward for December 12th, and we're not looking back. I know our state executive director is having a lot of conversation with the California Health Department and the governor's office. So as of today, all of our planning, again, we're moving full speed ahead to be prepared to start on December 12th. And so that's what we're pouring all our efforts into right now.
Hey, tell us about the partnership CIF with Mission Fed. They've been supporters of the PPR over the years, and now you are working closely with them, are you not?
Absolutely, Paul. Thank you. And yes, we're very excited for our new partnership with Mission Fed. Obviously, Mission Fed's been serving the educational community for over 60 years. For us, and then being an educational-based financial institution, really made sense to partner with us as a educational-based athletics institution. So it's awesome. They're going to be doing a ton of work with all of our scholar athlete activities and those type of things. And more importantly, with our partnership, we're actually going to be moving into our new offices, which are at the actual back of a Mission Federal branch on College Grove Avenue. So that's all part of our partnership in doing that. We're building that out. Hope to be in here shortly to those new offices. But again, like the CIF San Diego section, Mission Federal also is with us and moving forward, getting excited about getting our kids back to athletics here as soon as we can.
Hey, Joe, we want to try to squeeze in two questions here. So if you could work with us. The vote on beach volleyball, or as it relates to girls beach volleyball, how's that going to play out?
Absolutely. Went through our federated council as a first read item last week, Paul and Bert. So we're very excited. It's coming forward from the San Diego section. We've got over 40 schools that participate here in San Diego and over 1,000 girls across the state. So it's great. We don't see any reason why it won't go through and pass at our next round of meetings here in February. But again, excited to have some new opportunities to expand our opportunities for female athletes.
All right, Joe, we got to call it a conversation. Just a reminder, we're going to have Marshall Falk as our featured interview next week. And Excellent. You and Marshall Falk have a connection that we'll talk about in our next Hey Joe segment, okay?
Yeah, I might have fallen down a couple of front of guys for him, so it's good that you have him on there. So that'll be great.
Joe's college pitchers look the same as Tony Mandridge. It's not any different.
Yeah.
Get your
Hollandia.
Yeah. It's time to raise a glass of cold Hollandia milk to this week's featured student athlete. Here's Allison Edmonds shining a spotlight on Mission Bay's Andrew Hutchinson in this week's segment.
For Andrew Hutchinson, football hasn't been a part of his life for long, but it has made a lasting impact.
Sophomore year, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to football tryouts, I'm gonna try football. There's just something different about walking out Friday night under the lights in front of huge crowds. You know, the sport itself is just really special, so I sort of fell in love with it right away.
And he is now using his knowledge on and off the field to help his teammates.
I'm always offering my teammates help on the football field a ton, especially with the younger guys, but even in the classroom, if somebody's not getting a class or this or that, a lot of the teachers I've had, I'm always there for them, and I always make it clear that, hey, if you need help here, just reach out to me.
And Andrew is definitely a role model in the classroom since he boasts a 4.88 GPA.
Education has always been super important to me and my parents. My dad went to Notre Dame and my mom went to UCSD, so they've always harped on, A's. If you're able to get an A in a class, you should be getting an A in a class. I've just followed that through middle school and high school, and it's worked out for me so far.
But his hope is that it continues to work out for him at the next level.
I've been in contact with schools like Carnegie Mellon, Johns Hopkins, University of Chicago. I've had great experiences with all their coaches, and they're also great schools academically that are going to allow me to challenge myself on the field and in the classroom.
This is Allison Edmonds with the Hollandia Dairy Student Athlete of the Week.
Thank you, Allison. We have to take a time out. Bo Furtek joins the fray, but first, let's check out the PPR home life of Javai Blomquist of Madison High, brought to you by Renovation Realty. We renovate, we sell, you profit.
What's up, everybody? This is Javai Blomquist, and this is my everyday breakfast. Oatmeal. It's nice and simple, it's easy, and all you need is some butter, some cinnamon, and some sugar, because you can't have no nasty oatmeal. And then the taste test. Amazing. Thank you for watching that video.
Pretty morning. I'm telling you, that little band, Valley Center, has the biggest sound I think we've had here for the Sonic Pep Rally.
Mike Castellucci once again in the best of our pep rallies. It's now time to get with one of the South Bay's finest, Mr. Bo Furtek, in a segment we call
Faces in New Places.
No one in my family got a scholarship, so I'm the first person to get a scholarship and go to college.
Dylan would be the first to tell you how important a degree is, but he understands it's just the beginning to a successful career.
I'm majoring in criminal justice, graduate first and get that degree, and then after I want to go to military, be a pilot for the Air Force. I'm going to do like at least 20-25 years. After that, I'm going to retire from that and go to the FBI. I just seen movies of Navy SEALs and the pilot and the planes and stuff. It just been my dream, I guess.
That's Dylan's dream, but what advice does he give to younger student athletes to achieve theirs?
Ask a lot of questions. Work out every day and eat. Do homework, study more, and just have good grades. Chase your dreams, just to be great, and just keep going.
Even though he's thousands of miles away, his confidence doesn't waver.
There are a lot of good players here, so it's going to make me push myself to the limit, to work harder. I believe I will be one of the better ones, even though it's my first year. I had a good coaching time in high school as a Spartan to get me prepared for college.
No matter how far Dylan is from home, he still remembers to call the person who's helped him the most.
I talk to my dad once every 2 days. Because I'm in Chicago all by myself, so I just want to tell him like I'm doing good and I'm just achieving in life.
Bo Furtek with the Prep Pigskin Report.
All right, congratulations, young man. It is time to bring in our Coach of the Week, brought to you by King Amanpour. Here's Marlon Gardner out of Scripps Ranch. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Great. How you doing?
Well, the reason why we're having you in, Coach, is because last time we chatted, we were talking about letfamiliesdecide.org, something that is near and dear to your heart. Could you explain the organization and the motivation?
Absolutely. With COVID running rampant and lots of decisions to be made, I felt like as a parent and even as a coach, I wasn't being included in the conversation about what was in the best interest of my own sons. I have 2 kids in high school, and literally, the idea of Let Families Decide came from my own family and my own situation, and I understand it applies to about 900,000 other student athletes in the state of California, where we want to say, we want to be included in the discussion. We want to be asked whether or not we think it's in our own children's best interest and whether or not we think it's worth the risk, rather than having a lot of other people make those decisions for us.
Coach, you've been practicing in city parks. What are the challenges in doing that?
Gopher holes, sprinklers, fence posts for Little League outfield fences, you name it, dog mess, you name it, it can be an issue. We're grateful to the city of San Diego for the parks being open. We're more grateful for the Scripps Ranch Recreation Center allowing us to use facilities in our neighborhood, but it's not your field. There are no lines. There are a list of things that you don't get when you're in a city park that you would get if you were using your own facility.
Coach, what's your reaction to, we're seeing it a little bit in the South Bay, and we've seen it up in North County, teachers and parents protesting, saying they want to keep the schools closed until it is safe. What is your reaction to those groups and their message?
You know, I know it's a very personal issue for a lot of people, and there are a lot of people with, a range of concerns that are very valid. But we absolutely have competing interests here. And as long as everyone is looking out for themselves, where are the voices looking out for the kids? So I started to question and wonder, because I love our teachers and I respect them. But is this an essential job? Are the children getting what they need via online learning? And if it is deemed essential, how do we prioritize getting the kids back in school and protecting our teachers and those concerned about their own health? I think a lot of money is coming our way, and I'd like to see from the federal government, I'd like to see that money spent and put to work to accomplish all of our goals rather than just some people's goals.
Coach, your son Nick is on the Silver Pigskin watch list. What makes Nick a special player?
Well, he's special because he's my kid.
Of course.
Tenacity. He works hard. He prepares himself. He is driven. He is focused. He's what you want your son and/or a football player to be. He knows what his goals are. And despite all of the challenges with recruiting and potential redshirting of senior classes and the impact that'll have on him after having worked for so many years to reach his goals, just tenacious, focused, ready to go.
You made it to the D3 final. What's in store for the Falcons when they get to fly again?
We will never settle. We've created a culture of excellence, and we have no intention of stopping at any time. As I look over the next few years at the program, its development, the size of the freshman class, I think you could expect to see us poking around again for the next few years.
All right, Coach, we have to call it a night. Thank you very much for making time for us, and we look forward to seeing you on a football field doing these interviews in the not-so-distant future.
Sounds great. Thank you both.
Marlon Gardner from Scripps Ranch High. PPR Unplugged is continuing. It's time to reveal this week's Silver Pigskin Watch List award. Not winners, but people we're keeping an eye on. Plus the National City Mile of Stars. That segment all blended together when we come back right after these commercial words.
4 very special players vying for one special honor. The chance at true football immortality. The chance to be the next name on the prestigious Silver Pigskin. And the 2003 Silver Pigskin Player of the Year is Mr. P.T. Gates.
Wow. Welcome back to the Unplugged edition of Prep Pigskin Report.
You know, I still think of P.T. pound for pound.
Best running back?
Well, just best football player that I've seen in the 20. Only because he played both ways and he was tough as nails.
I'll still go with Noah.
All right. Well, yeah, and every time I say that, 8 other names come up. So
yeah, that's true.
Hey, over the last 22 years, we've had dozens of kids make it to the next level, but it's different for everyone. So let's hear from Nick James, sitting down with Rams rookie and former San Marcos Knight Tyrell Burgess in a segment we call "What Does It Take?"
Right, we're jacked to have you. You know?
Yes, sir. That would be great.
All right. Hey, our head coach is going to give you a call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
You're awesome, bro. It worked.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Tears of joy for Tyrell Burgess after the LA Rams drafted the former San Marcos High standout in the 3rd round in the NFL draft.
It's honestly just a lot of hard work and dedication. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to tell you you can't do something, that you won't do something, but you kind of just got to just block out the naysayers and just keep on moving. I went to a great school. I remember in high school, I had a great head coach in Jason Texler. You know, we had a great coaching staff. I mean, you know, we never got it done championship-wise, but we got pretty close. And I think, you know, just thinking back to playing with my friends and everything, it was a great feeling. And I don't know, I'll always, you know, cherish the time I had with KUSI PPR and also at San Marcos High School. Go Knights. I thank God every day that I wake up this morning that he woke me up. I think it's a great, I'm doing something that a lot of kids dream of, that I dreamt of when I was a kid. So I think I'm just going to use this opportunity to keep going, play as long as I can, as long as I got my feet under me, because 6 feet above is better than 6 feet below. So I think I'm going to make sure to keep on moving. I think this is an opportunity that you know, only so many people get. So I think I'm going to cherish it forever and just try and stay as long as I can.
Burgess and his Rams teammates are sitting pretty at 4-1 on the season with a big division game on Sunday at San Francisco against another native San Diegan, former Mission Hill star linebacker Fred Warner. Burgess should see plenty of snaps this weekend. Nick James for the Prep Pigskin Report.
It's amazing how all the offensive stars in high school
end up on defense.
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
Why is that?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I mean, the linemen, if you're don't have the feet, you always end up from defensive lineman to go to offensive lineman, but it usually doesn't go the other way. Offensive linemen don't turn into defensive linemen.
It maybe has to do with hands.
I think it's footwork more.
All right.
They're slower.
Well, interest of full transparency, everybody, we're going to devote a space on our KUSI.com PPR page just about all the athletes we're about to talk about, athletes we are considering for the next Silver Pigskin Gala, whenever that may be. Now, we have a bunch of awards, so a lot of these kids we're talking about might qualify for other awards besides the one we talk about. It's too far off to know, but just so you know and can monitor who are we talking about and then compare it to when we get closer to our next gala. We call the segment the Silver Pigskin Watch List, or better known now as the National City Mile of Stars. Bert, you go first.
I'm going to go out on a limb, underclassmen
of the year.
Yes, an offensive lineman to keep with Mandridge and Joe Hines been here. Logan Hicks out of Steel Canyon, 6'6", 250, came up as a freshman to varsity, got second team All-League as a sophomore, only got bigger, a lot of college interest. He is my pick. I'm going to give some love to the big man today.
All
Underclassmen.
Right. So who do you throw to now?
Nick Polino?
No, Brandon Stone. Hey, Brandon, you're up.
I'm talking underclassmen of the year, and this time we go out east to El Cap. Savvy Yoakley, wide receiver, 6'2", can make all the moves, but watch out, he'll probably be playing quarterback this spring. Think of Noah Tumblin when you see him, a man that takes the ball and does anything he wants with it. What do you have, Madhouse?
Brandon, remember how I added the quarterback from Carlsbad High School, Aiden Sayin, to the Silver Pigskin watch list last week? There's a new Sayin in town, and his name is Julian. He's also a quarterback, and yes, he's the younger brother to Aiden. The incoming freshman hasn't even played in a high school game and already has an offer from Florida State. With the athleticism and cannon of an arm like Julian has, it's a no-brainer. I'm adding him to the Underclassmen of the Year watch list. Nick, who's on your list?
Thank you, Madison. Heading over to San Pasqual, the Eagles, James DeBora, two-way player. This young man can play on both sides of the ball. On offense, they're going to use him at halfback, also at some receiver, and in a pinch, you can throw a little quarterback pass if you need to. On defense, he's going to play some safety, down in the box, and play some linebacker, and also he may rush off the edge and doing some blitzing packages as well for the Eagles. So that's who I'm rolling with for my two-way player this week. Bo, who do you have on your list this week?
Nick, modern day's Trevor Appleman will make a strong case for Offensive Player of the Year. With more weapons around him, he will look to improve on his junior stats of 25 passing touchdowns. The three-year starter is a three-star pro-style quarterback who stands tall in the pocket at 6'6" and can make every throw on the field. Now to Allison Edmonds.
Thank you, Bo. My Silver Pigskin watch list selection for this week is from the home of the Vikings, La Jolla's Diego Solis. Coming into his senior year, he has accumulated 1,300 offensive yards and 12 touchdowns, as well as being first team All-Eastern League. Diego is topping the San Diego charts, and you'll want to keep an eye on him this season. Nick, who are you going with?
Thanks, Allison. This week, I'm adding Madison's Gianni Walsh to the Iron Hog watch list. Walsh is 6'3" and weighs in at 285 pounds, 65 of which were gained just this offseason. The Warhawk has picked up 10 college offers, with his main attraction, aside from football, being his 4.0 GPA.
Time for another timeout, but first, Coach Carroll's Corner's next.
Yeah, that's coming up, but we were talking about Gianni Walsh. I believe he's also in our home life segment. Take a peek. Welcome back to PPR Unplugged. He's become an Instagram star.
He is a star all over the world.
Yes.
John Carroll.
In a segment we call Carroll's Corner. Coach, what is your insightful commentary tonight about?
You know, it's all about success. And it's a coach's obligation not just to teach the football skills on the field, but it's to help kids become the best version of themselves. And if you become the best version of yourself, you are a success, regardless of scoreboard, etc. And we call them the Beatitudes because the first B-attitudes, the first word is be, and then they are attitudes that become behaviors that will lead to success if there's progress there. So the first one is to be there, is to simply show up. And what is 90% of success is just showing up, it's being there. So that's pretty easy for everybody to do. The second one, a little bit more specific, is to be on time. And we don't want you to just be there. We want to create a culture, a program, a coach should create a culture, an on-time culture. Because if you do the little things right, the big things will follow. And being on time is the first step in doing the little things right. It's kind of like an all-in mentality. And I used to, with some of my kids that had trouble getting up first thing in the morning, we'd get them an alarm clock that was loud and obnoxious, have them put it away from their bed. The alarm clock rings, they can't roll over and hit it. They had to get up, and they had to actually get over, which once you're up, you're up. And the next one is that we be prepared. And I think this is where it starts. We have be there, be on time. Now it's be prepared. Now it's starting to get a little bit more specific. Be prepared means in the classroom and on the field, what is it that you were supposed to have brought with you or done in advance? Were you supposed to have studied for a test? Were you supposed to have done homework, a project? Were you supposed to have studied a playbook? Were you supposed to have watched film? So you have to come prepared for what it is that's going to be expected and asked of you. And then that's not good enough alone, because now at the end of a classroom period or the end of a practice, you may have questions. You can't leave a practice field or a classroom with questions. You have to make sure that you totally understand what is expected of you for the next go round. So never leave unsure, always make sure. Then we go to being accountable. So we go from being there, being on time, being prepared, and now be accountable. No blame game, no pointing fingers at other people. It's about accepting responsibility and not making excuses. And far too many kids are ready to point the finger, and we need to work on that as coaches with not just players, but with ourselves as well. And then we want to jump from being accountable to being respectful. And I think this is kind of important. It's kids will say sometimes, and adults will say sometimes, hey, you know what? I didn't respect him because he didn't respect me. Well, that's not the right attitude. When we give respect, we become worthy of respect. Be the bigger man and be the first one to show respect. And that's for your teachers, and that's for officials. And how many times do we see coaches, myself guilty at times, and players that are so quick to blame the officials for mistakes that maybe they made themselves, and maybe the official blew it himself. But you know what? You can't play the game without the officials. So we need to appreciate the fact that they're there. And I do believe that in the overall scheme of things, not a particular game necessarily, but in the overall scheme of things, the officials' calls always balance themselves out. And after we're respectful on that, and that's, by the way, that's for your teachers too, kids, that if you don't like a particular teacher, you still show them respect. And then after we're respectful, we want to be excellent. That's the next one. So we want to be excellent by leaving it on the field. No gas left in the tank. That we have prepared, that we have done everything that we could do, and that we just go from the first play to the last play, from the first whistle to the last whistle, and we play this game the way it's supposed to be played, and that's how we respect it. So it's, hey, be there, be on time, be prepared, be accountable, be respectful, and be excellent. And those are the Beatitudes that will lead to the best version of yourself, and you will be a success.
Coach, you should open a university or an academy.
And that goes for you too, Paul.
Yes.
Although, it's difficult. You get so emotional on the sideline. I'm talking about the officiating thing. It's really hard to contain yourself.
Yeah, to be respectful sometimes when a call has just cost you a win or something. But
yeah, that's absolutely true. But the best words in the English language, I'm sorry. When you blow it,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Bert?
I wish I could. Well, you know what?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hey, Coach, thank you very much. We will talk again next week.
Look forward to it.
Former Oceanside High School football coach John Carroll in Carroll's Corner with the answer to tonight's El Cajon Ford Pigskin trivia question. That would be Nick Polino. It's coming up for the exciting conclusion of the PPR Unplugged.
Let's hand out some PPR and El Cajon Ford gear. Here's Nick Polino with the answer to tonight's El Cajon Ford Pigskin trivia question.
Thanks, guys. Time to give out some gear. But let me start by reminding everyone of tonight's Nobody Beats El Cajon Ford Pigskin trivia question. In the last decade, which team in the Avocado West has won the most league titles? The correct answer is B, the Oceanside Pirates. With 4 league titles since the 2010-2011 season, the Pirates have finished at the top of the Avocado West more times than any other school. Our social media winners are Bobby and Patty Ramiro. So please send us a DM, and in turn, we'll send you some PPR and El Cajon Ford gear.
That sound means the show is over. On behalf of Brandon Stone, producer Nick Polino, and the entire PPR crew.
What do we got next week?
Oh, hey, we have a big name next week. Who? Marshall Falk is our featured guest. Yeah.
He won't return my text to come on the show, but he returned
I reached
yours?
out to him like that. And we're going to make sure we tie in Joe Hines, who blocked for Marshall.
And Marshall broke his, I'll let it go.
And ended his career. Mm-hmm. All right, so hey, don't forget to check out the social media deluge that is already underway. Our hashtag here is KUSIPPR. We tons of stuff throughout the week, so keep it right here. Don't forget, we'll be back next Friday right here on KUSI. Same pig time, same pig channel.